Hey everyone, welcome to the Calm Mom podcast. It's Michelle Grosser here. Thanks for being with me today. I want to talk about snapping at our kids, snapping at anyone really, snapping at our husbands, snapping at our coworkers. And I want to give you guys 3 super practical handles today that will help you keep your cool. Okay, but before we jump in, I want to start this episode by thanking you guys so much for listening today. If you have not yet done so, make sure you're following The Calm Mom. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you can just go ahead and open up the show and make sure that you click the follow button. If you haven't yet, same thing on Spotify. It just says follow. But go ahead and make sure that you're following The Calm Mom. You'll be notified of all of our new episodes so you don't miss anything and you can stay on top of all of it. And then second, if you have not yet left the show a 5-star rating, if today would be the day that you could do so, holy moly, I'd be so grateful. It's just the best way we can get this show out in front of other moms, other women who could really use this information that has been so helpful to so many of us. So if you could leave the show a 5-star rating today, maybe even a short review, just a sentence or two about something you've learned or what this show has meant to you, I would be so, so grateful. Y'all are the best. All right, so let's talk about it. Listening to this show, you're probably raising kids, or you have raised kids, or you want to raise kids someday. And y'all, raising kids is a wild ride. Like, I don't have to tell you, right? We all love our kids immensely. It goes without saying. But holy moly, like I'll speak for myself, nothing has cracked me open in the way that motherhood has, right? My children are just these powerful, like little mirrors that reflect all of my traumas, all of my triggers, and just invite such beautiful opportunities for me to heal. But in that mirroring, right, of all of those opportunities for me to heal, like there lie all my triggers. It's triggering, right? And when we're triggered by our kids, so many things can happen. One of which is that we just lose our cool, right? And it sucks. Like I've been there. It's happened to me. I know I'm not alone, right? And when I snap at my kids, like I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but immediately my heart just sinks. Like it's just one of the worst feelings in the world. Maybe you can relate. And I've done quite a few episodes on what to do after you've yelled at your kids or lost it on your kids or snapped at your kids, like how to repair with your kids in a healthy way. And I'll go ahead and I'll link that episode in the show notes for you guys if you want to listen to that one after this and learn. I think that's a great tool to have in your toolbox. Like, how do I repair with my kids when I do something that, I need to talk to them about that wasn't cool. But what I want to talk about today is not so much how to deal with it like in the aftermath of losing it on our kids, but I want to give you guys some practices, put some tools in your toolbox that you can start to practice and put into place that are preventative. So some front end stuff, right? Like let's focus on some things that are prophylactic. So how can we take care of ourselves? How can we take care of our own junk, right? Our own stuff on the front end so that those moments where we are at our wits' end, where we're snapping at our kids, are just happening less frequently, right? They're happening less and less. So here's the first thing. The first thing to understand when it comes to all of this, emotional regulation, nervous system regulation, irritability, edginess, like snapping at our kids, is that we all have, as human beings, we all have a window of tolerance. Window of tolerance is something we talk about in somatic psychology. It's something that we talk about in trauma therapy. But what a window of tolerance describes, it's a range within which we can effectively manage and respond to the stress of life, right? To the challenges of life. So we all have a range, a capacity within which we can handle what comes our way. And that window of tolerance represents like how much stimulation we can handle, how much activation we can handle, how much information we can handle, how much life we can handle coming at us, and within which the range within which we can function effectively, right? Without our nervous system throwing us into a stress response like fight or flight or freeze or fawn. And when we're within that window of tolerance, when we're operating within that range, we have the capacity to adapt. We have the capacity to adapt to things our kids do and they say, adapt to, our partners, adapt to the stress of life, work life, right? Navigating challenges, regulating our emotions, regulating our behaviors, all of these different things. We have the capacity to handle all of that without becoming overwhelmed or without becoming dysregulated when we're within our window of tolerance. In that state, it reflects a sense of resilience, of flexibility. We can just respond, right? Instead of react, whatever life throws at us. And when we're operating in our window of tolerance, you guys, our nervous system is regulated. Our nervous system is integrated. And that means that our sympathetic circuit, that fight or flight energy, and our parasympathetic branch, that rest and digest state of our autonomic nervous systems, they're in balance. And it allows for us to effectively respond to stress. It allows for us to effectively recover from the things that life is throwing at us, right? And it promotes overall well-being. But here's the kicker. Our window of tolerance, our capacity to hold life isn't fixed. It's always kind of fluctuating based on so many different things. And I think that's good news. And it can also be bad news because it can expand or it can contract depending on so many different factors. Things like our life experience, our environment, right? The presence of different stressors that are going on in our life, different triggers, our traumatic experiences, things that we've experienced in childhood, right? The chronic stress that we endure, anything that's felt overwhelming, any life event that's felt overwhelming. All of these different things can shrink our window of tolerance. And when our window of tolerance is really narrow, when it's really small, it makes it hard for us to handle life. It makes it hard for us to cope with stress. It makes it really hard for us to regulate our own emotions. And this is why, this fluctuation of our window of tolerance, this is why maybe you guys have experienced this. I know I certainly have. Some days it feels like everything has gone wrong, right? We miss our morning alarm clock. We're running late out the door. Our kids can't find their shoes, right? We get to school, we get to work. We realize we're late for a meeting, whatever it is. And we look back and reflect on the day and we're like, oh my goodness, I'm so proud of myself. I handled today like a freaking boss, right? And it's because on those days we're well-resourced and we have a really wide window of tolerance, right? We have a lot of capacity that day to handle and hold stress without us being sent into overwhelm and dysregulation. But then there are other days when we're not as well-resourced, right? When we haven't slept, when we're not dealing with our emotional stuff, our baggage, we're not dealing with our stuff. And on those days, it seems like even the smallest thing, right? One comment from our husband, one eye roll from our kids, one person cutting us off in traffic, one small thing, and it sets us off, right? We have a really narrow window of tolerance on those days. We have very low capacity to hold what life sends us. And in coaching and in somatic healing approaches, the way that I work with women, my goal is to help you guys widen your window of tolerance. That's what I teach, right? That's the goal. That's the overarching goal. I want to teach you how to increase your capacity to tolerate life, to process difficult things, difficult emotions, challenges, all the different sensations, all this different stuff. And that's what I want to focus on today. How do we do this, right? And there's a lot of different ways. It's practicing self-regulation skills. It's building resilience in your nervous system. It's engaging in somatic practices that I teach, all of these different things that promote neurological fitness, right? Nervous system, health, and regulation. So today what I want to do is I want to go through 3 specific tools that I want to coach you through today that I think are really going to help increase or widen that window of tolerance, right? To grow your capacity to handle what life throws at you so you're not snapping at your kids. All right. So the first tool is starting to learn how to grow an awareness, noticing your somatic cues. What are somatic cues? Somatic cues are the ways in which our body is communicating with us. Our body, your body is always communicating with you, right? It's sending you messages constantly. The question is, are you listening, right? Are you listening to that headache? Are you listening to that, tension and clenching in your jaw? Are you listening to that neck and shoulder pain, right? Are you listening to that IBS or that autoimmune condition or that insomnia or that anxiety? Like, are you listening to your somatic cues? And as a society, when we are always busy and we're going 24/7 and we're part of a culture that is more interested in silencing the messenger instead of listening to the message, right? Headache, take an Advil. Stomach pain, right? Take this supplement. Neck pain, go get a massage. We're just trying to quiet the communication instead of listening to what's being communicated. And when I teach about noticing somatic cues, our body communicates stress. Our body communicates nearing dysregulation to us in so many different ways. And a lot of it is bio-individual. So you have to learn how your particular body communicates stress to you so you can see it as a red flag and do something about it, right? So I think a good way to kind of practice this or learn it visually is through just like a stoplight, right? When we're in a green zone, we're regulated. We're feeling good. We're feeling calm. We're feeling present. We're like in our zone. We can handle what life throws at us. We're in good shape. When we start to move into that yellow light zone, our body is starting to communicate that it's feeling dysregulated, right? Something is going on that needs some attention. What might that look like for you? Maybe when you're in a yellow light zone, I notice for me, right, that my shoulders will like come up by my ears and everything in my jaw and my neck and my shoulders get super tight when I'm starting to feel overwhelmed or agitated or annoyed or frustrated or whatever it is, right? I get this pit in my stomach and my stomach feels super tight. Like I can't even eat because I just feel like, that's that feeling in my stomach. Maybe you notice your breathing changes. Maybe your heart rate changes. Maybe the temperature in your body changes. You feel really hot, right? Maybe your hands start to clench or they feel like sweaty. Notice your somatic cues because what they're telling you is, hey, we're starting to become dysregulated here. We're starting to become agitated here. This is a great time to use your regulation resources and help communicate safety to your body to bring you back to a place of regulation so you don't enter that red light zone where you're just popping off at everybody, right? So start to notice, right? Start to pay attention. You guys have heard me say it before. Awareness always precedes choice, right? We can't intervene in a world that we cannot see. So start to notice, start to pay attention. When you're starting to feel a little bit aggravated or agitated or annoyed or triggered, what are the first ways in which your body is communicating that to you? And then as you grow in awareness of those somatic cues, you're going to catch them quicker. You're going to be more aware of them and you're going to be able to do something about it, regulate your body before you're completely just, popping off and yelling at everybody. So that's the first thing. Start noticing your somatic cues. The second thing that's really going to help you keep your cool, guys, and this might be the most important one, create space. Creating space. Space increases your window of tolerance. Margin increases your window of tolerance. And it makes sense, right? The more space you have, the more space you create, the more space you have to hold more, right? The more you can tolerate, the more you can take in, the more space you can hold for your kids, for your husband, for other people. And here's a visual that really helps me to understand this. Imagine that your body is like an inflatable pool that you like put in your backyard for toddlers, right? Like you've all seen it. It's the one that kills your grass in the backyard. Like you just put it out, fill it with the hose. Imagine your body's like this inflatable pool. And imagine that pool, i.e. your body, is just completely full of beach balls, right? These inflated, colorful beach balls. Your pool is so full of beach balls that you can't even swim in it, right? It's like beach balls are on top of each other. They're piling up. You can't even see the water in this pool. You look into it. All you see is the beach balls. They're everywhere. They're like bouncing out. It's just a disaster of beach balls. The pool cannot be used. Now, what do the beach balls represent? The beach ball, every single beach ball is a life experience that has not been processed and is taking up space in your pool, in your body. So the pool is your body. It is full of these beach balls that are life experiences that have not been processed and are taking up space. What am I talking about when I say life experiences? I'm talking about all of the things that you have experienced since you were conceived. Big T and little t traumas that have not been processed. That time you were bullied in whatever, middle school, the day your dad moved out or your parents got divorced or, one of your caregivers yelled at you or gave you the silent treatment or all the stuff that you have to do, right? All of the things that you're managing, all your obligations, all your responsibilities, all of the emotions, all of the anger and resentment and grief and sadness and all of the pain that you've suppressed and are holding in and have not released. Every single thing like that is a beach ball taking up space in the pool that is your body. And when our pool, i.e. our body, is full of beach balls, right? When our body is full of trauma and suppressed emotion, taking up all the space, there's no room. And that, my friends, shrinks your window of tolerance, right? You are at full capacity. Your body cannot hold any more of what this life is throwing at you. You cannot hold your kids' big emotions. You cannot hold your husband's emotions, right? You cannot hold your coworkers' dumb comments. You can't, your window of tolerance is tiny because there's no space. And so anything that, your kids do that's remotely irritating or triggering, you lose it and you snap and we become dysregulated and we shift into fight or flight and we yell and we scream and we just snap. And maybe you're listening to this and you're like, okay, I get that intellectually. I can visualize this and I can picture it, but Michelle, what do I do with this? Right? What do I do with this? How do I practice? How do I release some of these metaphorical beach balls? How do I create more space in the pool that is my body? And there's a lot of different ways to go about this, you guys. This is what I teach. It's what I teach in our one-on-one coaching sessions. It's what we go through inside of Restore, our burnout recovery program. I'm going to give you a couple different ways here. First is emotional release. My friends, suppressing your anger, your frustration, holding back your tears, holding back your sadness, holding back your unprocessed grief. If you're holding all of that in and shoving it down and not dealing with it, it is taking up space. It is taking up energetic space. It takes a ton of energy and effort to hold in your emotions, to suppress instead of release. So teaching your body that it's safe to express and release your emotions in a healthy way, and then actually following through and honoring those emotions and doing it when you feel that urge or that impulse of emotional expression, instead of continuing a pattern of suppressing everything, letting that stuff out creates so much space, so much freedom, so much openness. The power of this, you guys, is super underrated. I cannot overemphasize this. Just think back to the last time when you were really upset with someone. Maybe it was your husband, maybe it was your boss, maybe it was one of your parents. You were just boiling with anger and rage, right? Your kids did something, I don't know, they innocently did something, right? And it just tipped you over the edge and you lost it. And it's because all those big emotions were directed at someone else, right? You were super mad about something that your partner did or didn't do. You were super irritated about something that was going on at work, right? You were really disappointed by something. And because you have not processed those big emotions and you're continuing to try to suppress them, now you're losing it on your kids because you have no capacity to hold anything else, right? You have no window of tolerance. And we spend a whole section of Restore, my group program, focusing specifically on emotional regulation because it's so important, you guys. It makes such a difference. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, when we talk about space, is space in your schedules, right? There is an epidemic of busyness. I was on a podcast a few weeks ago and someone used this term nexting instead of texting. Obviously, we all know what texting is. It's this epidemic of nexting. We are living in a world where we are constantly focused on and obsessed with what is next. We cannot be present, right? We wake up and we're thinking what's going to happen next in the morning. And then when we're making breakfast in the morning, we're thinking about what's happening next at drop off and the first thing we have to do at the office. And then when we're there, we're thinking of what we have to do next when we get home. And then when we're home, we're thinking of what we have to do next in the evening. And then we're thinking of what we have to do next to the next day. And we're constantly nexting. And it causes us to stay stuck in urgency, busy 24/7, right? Going from one thing to the next without any space in between. And that sense of urgency, you guys, that sends signals of that we're not safe to our nervous system. It sends signals of threat. It sends signals of perceived danger. We have to be on alert, right? We have to be constantly going and hypervigilant. So if we're constantly busy with whatever it is we fill our time with, right? I don't know, all the kids' birthday parties and the extracurriculars and the sports and the dance and the work events, and like it all takes up space. And our brain does not have time to rest and process and recover and just simply be. And all of that busyness shrinks our window of tolerance because we're tapped out. We're operating at capacity. Our body and our mind cannot hold anymore. And so when life keeps on lifing, as it will inevitably do, we're at capacity, something's got to give, right? And we snap. So creating space in both our internal world and creating space in our external world, both so important in growing our window of tolerance and our capacity to handle life so we're not snapping at our kids. That's the second. And then the third thing I want to teach you that I think is going to really help you keep your cool is learning how to build resilience in your nervous system, how to build a flexible nervous system. Now, we know our nervous system is our body's command center, right? Our nervous system is sending all the messages, this whole network of messages happening in our body, from our brain down to our body, from our body up to our brain, telling us what's going on, what we need to pay attention to, all of our fears, right? All of the things we think, all of the words we say, all of the actions that we take or don't take. It's all governed by our nervous system. And a large majority of it, upwards of more than 90% of that messaging is actually subconscious. We're not consciously aware of it, right? All of our fears and all of our paradigms and all of our preconceived notions and all of our judgments, all of these different things run by our nervous system. It's our body's command center. And when we have a healthy nervous system, when we have built resilience in our nervous system, that means that we have the capacity to handle the ups and downs of life, but we don't get stuck in either extreme, right? We don't get stuck in the high energy states, in the anxiety, in the activated energy. So in the irritability, in the edginess, in the anger, like we don't get stuck in that fight or flight energy. And we also don't get stuck in the low energy states. We don't get stuck in functional freeze. We don't get stuck in burnout. We don't get stuck in depression. We don't get stuck in dissociation and disconnection and spacing out and numbing out. Our body is constantly perceiving all of the stress of day-to-day life as a threat. And when we don't have a resilient nervous system, it shrinks our window of tolerance. So how does that look or feel in a practical sense? Well, then we're on high alert all the time, right? We feel anxious, we feel irritable, we feel edgy, we feel critical. And the littlest thing can just set us off. However, when we engage in different somatic practices and the stuff that I teach, right? You hear about it on the podcast. We go in depth in our one-on-one coaching and inside of Restore. When we engage in somatic practices that promote nervous system regulation, when we're regulated, our window of tolerance is really nice and wide, right? We're present, we're connected, we feel social, we feel compassionate and loving. We can show up from that space how we want to in those relationships that matter most to us, in our parenting, in our marriage, in our close relationships, in our workspaces. So what are these somatic practices? Well, it's so much of what we focus on here on the podcast. There's so many, right? It's all the things related to movement and breath and touch and daily lifestyle habits, all of the things that promote nervous system fitness. We experience daily stress. Yes or no, right? Yeah, we experience daily stress. So we also need to have daily practices to help us discharge and release that stress, to help our bodies feel safe enough to regulate, broaden that window of tolerance so we can handle whatever life, whatever our kids, right, whatever our work throws at us without it sending us into a stress response, without it sending us into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So if this is landing for you, right? If this is helpful, if this is resonating, if this is making sense, if you are yelling at your kids or you're just feeling super irritable and edgy or anxious more than you'd like, I just want to encourage you. I just want to remind you there's help available to you, right? There is hope. You do not have to feel this way. You do not have to parent this way. Your marriage does not have to be in that environment. There's a reason why you're feeling like you do. Like, friend, there is a reason why you're doing the things that you do. There's always a reason for everything we say, everything we think, everything we do or don't do, always. So it's not that you're a bad mom. Let me just make that clear today, right? It's not that you're a bad mom. It's not that you're not cut out for this. It's that your window of tolerance is shot. It's that your window of tolerance, maybe it's like so razor thin that it's non-existent because you just haven't been taught the tools to broaden, to widen, to increase that window of tolerance, right? You haven't been taught the tools to increase your capacity to hold life. You haven't been taught the tools to heal your trauma, right? To release your suppressed emotions. You haven't been taught the tools to get rid of all of those beach balls taking up space in your energetic body, right? To grow your resilience in your nervous system, regulate your emotions, because you're probably going 24/7 and your body perceives that as unsafe. And I want to help you. I have 2 open spots for one-on-one coaching for the rest of the summer. So if that's something that you've been thinking about, if that feels aligned for you, if it feels like a good time to get a handle on this stuff, right? If you want to take a stand against snapping at your kids or feeling so irritable, and you really want to learn the tools to grow your capacity, grow your window of tolerance, I encourage you, there's a link in the show notes. You can book a free 30-minute discovery call. We'll jump on a Zoom together, 30 minutes. Tell me what it is that you're experiencing, where you're looking to grow, what it is that, you want to feel, how you want to show up. And I'll tell you how I can help you. And then we can explore together whether one-on-one coaching is a good fit for you, or maybe another one of my programs is a good fit for you. But I have 2 spots left, and then I'm going to be full for the rest of the summer. I'm not taking a full one-on-one coaching client load this summer because I want to spend some time with my kids and create some space, right? Embody what it is that I'm teaching you. But I do have 2 spots left. And if you are interested in taking one of those spots and working with me one-on-one and getting all of this stuff in order this summer and really giving yourself that gift, I think it would be a beautiful opportunity for you. So don't sit on it. Go ahead, book a free call, 30 minutes. We'll jump on together. Tell me what's going on. I'll tell you how I can help. And if it's a good fit, we'll make it happen. All right, my friends, thanks for being with me today. Thanks for taking this time to invest in yourselves, in your parenting. You so deserve it. Your kids deserve it. I'm so proud of you. I love you guys so much. I'll talk to you soon.